Well, 5 days with the Mariners in the desert, and it's probably time for some thoughts. I've got three of them for you. First of all, the overall vibe. Things feel good in this camp, and that's what you expect in spring training. They haven't lost a game yet. Nobody's had a major injury or anything like that. They're rested. They're happy to see each other. You definitely have that first day of school feeling, the first couple of weeks of spring training. They're happy to be together, and that's a good thing. But also, there really aren't a lot of position battles, and I think that kind of gives them a feeling of being established and a feeling of we can just kind of focus on the season right now rather than who's going to be to my left or who's going to be to my right, or am I going to make the team for that matter. It's a little bit different. You don't have the competition that you have in some cases, but I don't think they need the competition. I think that has been replaced with what didn't happen at the end of last year. There is definitely a lot of disappointment that they didn't make the postseason man-to-man. There's a hunger. I'm sure you have read that. I'm sure you have heard that. It's one of the prevailing feelings in this camp. But good to see things kind of feeling the way they should right now. It's much better than the alternative, and there are times when it's not there. I kind of realize that, having covered many spring trainings, that there's sometimes a camp where I will say, yeah, it's kind of a professional cool about them, going about the business of getting ready for the season. And now kind of when I look at this and see the difference with that, I see that maybe some things were missing when there was that cool, that maybe there was a little bit of an edge that was missing, or maybe there was a little bit of, I don't know, some discord within the team when that kind of happened. So really interesting to see this group right now, where they're at. Second thought with it is, and this really has jumped out at me, and not something I thought about too much until it was right in front of me, but youth is going to be key on this team. It definitely feels more veteran. There's no question about that. This team is growing up together. I looked at Julio the other day, and he looked older. He's 23. He is older. He's no longer the 19-year-old kid. But when you look around and you see they've all grown up with him, JP, Ty, you definitely have that veteran core group. But the young players, you look at the pitching. Did Bryce Miller and Brian Wu kind of take enough lumps last year and learn from them? Their first time going around the league. Very important. A lot of lessons to be learned. You can tell when you talk to them, a lot of focus in the off season. We'll see where that goes for them, but that could be key. If they can take a step forward, pitching's pretty good. I think you feel pretty good about the other three. They did a great job last year. There's certainly room for better. Other areas of youth that I think will be huge, and I wrote about this on Seattle Sports on Friday, the outfield. Kind of trying to get a feel of how they're going to handle it. Is it going to be three permanent outfielders and a fourth outfielder who fills in here and there? Is it going to be platoons? Or is it going to be Julio and a rotation of the other three guys? Scott Service said it'll be a little bit of all of that. But right there, smack dab in the middle of it, are going to be two young outfielders in Dom Canzone and Luke Raley. Luke Raley has had a full season. Canzone has not. He had only been up for a little while before he was traded last year. So it'll be very interesting to see, kind of like the young pitchers, where they go after their first kind of major go-round in the bigs. And when you talk to people, you kind of get the feeling that there is a lot, they think there's a lot of upside with both players. They have to, of course, realize that upside, but Raley's got tremendous power. And Canzone is just interesting. I'm really interested to see what he turns into. What we saw from him last year, had one of the best strikeout percentages on the team. But he also didn't always swing at the best pitches. That's something that they're working on with him right now. There's some opportunity there. They have tweaked his swing a little bit and wanted him to get stronger, which almost sounds ridiculous. He had one of the hardest hit home runs and the furthest hit home runs on the team last year. Actually, two of them if you count the hit it here. The one in Oakland was further. But I'm really interested to see what he is offensively. And defensively, I'm hoping for better. I know he scared some with what we saw in the outfield last year, maybe a little bit on the bases too, but it has since been revealed that he had leg issues when he came over to the Mariners. So hopefully that's behind him, and you see him have a little bit more impact in that area. I think at best you're looking at an average outfielder, but they can absorb that with Julio smack dab in the middle. So I think Raley and Canzone will be very interesting to watch. The other young player that's going to be key is Emerson Hancock. It is very unlikely the five starters who start the season will make every start. That makes Hancock that much more important. And he went through a lot last year, and actually the last couple of years, just really kind of fighting to stay healthy. Again, kind of strange injuries and aches and things that had to be worked out, but he looks great right now in spring training. I think he got a little bit of a taste of the big leagues that'll help him, and I'm going to watch him closely. What can we expect when and if he gets called on? The last thing that I'm going to point to that kind of jumps out at me, and that I'm kind of still watching for, and hopefully there'll be a piece coming on it, is it really struck me, and I was happy to see this, that at the end of last year, the front office, Jerry DiPoto, Justin Hollander, Andy McKay, everybody, the analysts, really broke down what they do. They broke down the philosophies and tried to figure out, where is this going wrong? They came up just short. They didn't quite have enough. And an interesting move that they made was they hired 3 coaches from the outside. That isn't something they've done the last few years. They really preferred to stay with promoting from within, which kind of keeps the messaging consistent. So we're starting to see a little bit of it play out in that Brant Brown, who is the bench coach, but also the offensive coordinator, meaning he brings all the different goals on offense together, and is also going to be important in, I think, communicating hitting strategies and game-to-game attacks, how they're going to attack the opposing pitcher, approaches, things like that. But he is doing a lot of chalk talks right now. From what I understand, the language is a little bit different, the messaging is a little bit different, and they're asking for a little more intent in everything they do. And why not? With a more veteran club, I think you can ask for those things. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out. We had heard in the off season that Brant Brown had really kind of focused with a couple of players that he talked to, getting off to a better start. That there were opportunities that were lost early in the season, a little bit more in May than April, but nonetheless, a game or two makes a difference. So what's that going to look like? I don't know how much that'll reveal itself in spring training, but we will have our eyes open. So those are the 3 things I'm looking at right now. You can always follow me on social media. Some fun stuff today from Picture Day. We had Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo with yo-yos. Cal Raleigh, a giant polar bear, teddy bear thing. I don't know what it was, but it made for good video. Pieces that are up right now, I really enjoyed speaking with all 5 of the starters about where they practice in the off season, how they practice. It's very diverse. You had one pitcher who was just looking for a throwing partner anywhere where he could get it, and Luis Castillo on the other end, who's got a gym that's built into his house that he can throw inside. It's an interesting story. If you have a chance to read that, it's kind of fun. Also take a look at the outfield situation that we talked about early. We've got stuff up there every day, and hey, games start on Saturday. So we're getting closer here. A lot of fun. Stay tuned. Listen to us on Seattle Sports on 710, and of course on the web on seattlesports.com. We'll catch you soon.